How to increase property value by reducing energy waste. That's today's lesson. No matter how your building is metered, master meter, individual meters, old building, new building, there's always at least one upgrade that can raise the value, and I'll show you how that works. What you're seeing is the final result, but the real lesson is the structure and how we build it and how we finance it. We buy the building, we improve it with borrowed funds, usually at 7% over about 30 years. That's what we use in our examples. And the changes we're going to make create value. In the next slides, we'll walk through every step and show you how this is done. Hi, I'm Steve Nauer. I've studied energy efficiency and building performance, and I've learned the math. Programs matter, rebates matter, and then the savings will compound. Any property works. Expenses will drop and values will rise. You're building your wealth and improving your building at the same time. There are three paths to higher value, and you may not qualify for all of them, but every building will qualify for at least one. Efficiency rehab works everywhere, solar thermal works almost everywhere, and solar panels are conditional. But one of these will fit your building, and each one can raise the value. Next, we'll walk through them all one by one. Before we talk savings, we need a baseline. These are average numbers based on a typical apartment building in Texas. About $33,000 in electric and natural gas expenses every year. That's our starting point, and next, let's reduce these costs. Quick pop quiz. Before upgrades, what do? You don't build first, you follow the money. Start with an energy audit. Utilities and state federal programs frequently offer rebates on lighting, air sealing, and appliances. So apply first and then build. That's how you lower cost and increase your returns. The cheapest power is power saved. Reduce the load first. Before solar, seal the building, upgrade the lighting, and add energy efficient appliances. A smaller load equals a smaller investment, and better math yields a higher net operating income. Now that we have our baseline utility costs of $33,000 a year, let's reduce it with basic energy efficiency, air sealing, LED lighting, and efficient appliances. Electric use drops about 30%, and hot water drops about 10%. Those are very normal results. And lower expenses mean higher net operating income, and higher net operating income means a higher value. Same building, lower costs, more value, more capacity. And that's why energy efficiency always comes first. Solar thermal hot water collectors sit on the roof. They use the sun to preheat water, and that heated water goes into a tank. The tank is insulated, so the heat is stored. And now here's what changes. Incoming water is already warm, so the boiler runs less. It only finishes the heating job, and that means the fuel use drops, but tenants still get the same hot water. The building uses less energy, lowering operating expenses, and that's where all these savings will come from. Here's the savings evaluation. We start with $15,000 in old hot water heating expense. Then we add solar thermal and save about 60% or $9,000 a year. That new $9,000 of net operating income at a 7% cap rate increases value to about $128,000, and it supports about a $75,000 loan. That's how you turn your savings into real value. In a master metered building, daytime solar runs first. The power is used inside the building before any of it hits the grid. That means the owner isn't buying utility power. He's producing his own power at a lower effective cost. So we size the solar at about 70%, because beyond that, the extra power is exported, and utilities pay less for exports. So 70% maximizes the savings. Here's the reality of solar PV. Panels are priced in watts, but savings come from kilowatt hours. In Texas, electricity costs about 14 cents per kilowatt hour, so even a good system only saves about $8,400 a year. That's our key number. Here's the filter for solar PV. Same system, same cost. Texas pays 14 cents a kilowatt hour, so the savings are almost zero. But California pays 32 cents. The savings are material. The lesson is simple. First, know your rate, and second, know your cost to produce the power. If your rate is well above your production cost, solar can work. But if it's not, it doesn't. So always let the math decide. We've covered three options: efficiency, solar thermal, and solar panels. The numbers told us something. Not every green upgrade creates value. Efficiency will work almost everywhere, and solar thermal really moves the net operating income up, but solar panels often don't. So let's focus on what works, and let's apply this to a real deal. Now we know what works: efficiency, rehab, and solar thermal. These upgrades create value, not someday, but right away. We buy, then improve. Expenses fall, net income rises, and that creates instant equity and more cash flow. And that's what investors want. So let's look for buildings with older construction, master metered, high expenses. These are untapped savings, and let's apply what we've learned. This is the starting point, an example of the building we're buying. The current utilities are about $33,000 a year, and the net operating income comes in at 49%. That prices the building about a 7% cap rate. The cash flow today is about $12,000, and this is not after improvements. This is before anything changes. Now, let's see what happens after we make our improvements. Now here's what changed. Utility expenses dropped about $15,800, and that's roughly 11% of the expenses. Operating income rises to 60%. We did add $50,000 in upgrade financing, but even after that, the cash flow doubled to about $24,000 a year. The cap rate moves up to 8.9, and total yield is now 32%. And this is what the expense reduction has done for us. Now watch what happens. We bought the building and we fixed the expenses. The utilities dropped from $32,000 a year to $16,100, and that created about $15,900 in savings. We financed the work, and the loan payments total $3,991 annually. But after debt payments, we still keep almost $12,000 in new operating income. That supports about $104,000 in new borrowing capacity and $170,000 in value. Plus the cash flow is now doubled to $24,000 a year. That's value created. If you've made it this far, you've seen what works. You want to reduce waste first and then target your owner-paid costs and add solar last if it makes sense. Let the net operating income decide what efficiencies to target. And when you do this, you don't just lower expenses. You increase income, you increase value, and you create wealth. This is a repeatable framework you can apply to almost any apartment building.